Real knowledge comes from explaining things that you visualize. And then the rest of the people explain what someone else explained. You see, knowledge is generated on an experiential basis. And then most people think that it comes from books. Most people have a very difficult time because they lack the imagination of people that generate knowledge. And so that's part of the problem, is when you have people that are educated to think that intelligence is absent creative capacity. That you think knowledge comes from books. It makes sense why people would think that God wrote a book and they couldn't even write, a thank you note to somebody without having a creativity problem. So you got to go buy a card. People lack so much creativity that you go and you have to buy cards and read them. Like, that's how disabled we are. Like, you literally cannot write a note to someone. You have to read someone else's note. You couldn't make a joke. You couldn't do a funny. You go and buy cards. So here's we are in a world where people have been educated to avoid any intelligence. And so we can't even question reality. Oh no, if I want to know what you think, well, just what books did you read or what news agency? So you want to debate their knowledge. Well, you're not debating your knowledge, you're debating someone else's. And well, if I say, well, you got what percentage in school 20 years ago? How much of that did you retain? How is it really knowledge when you're trying to memorize it on flashcards just to reproduce a sentence or a multiple choice question? Boy, oh boy, didn't you love those? Didn't you love a Scantron test where you didn't have to do any work? You just had to guess. So Americans got taught how to guess, or taught how to regurgitate something, and taught how to have fear when they didn't know the answers. And where do you go to get the answers? Oh, well, you got to go to Barnes and Nobles, or you got to talk to a therapist or something like that, or watch the internet. Oh, you got to go to YouTube. And then you could just be told the earth is flat because you don't have the imagination. You can't do the math yourself. And so that's what they wanted in the United States. They wanted people that couldn't tell the difference between knowledge and parroting and paraphrasing. So now your ego has a PhD. Now your ego's educated and your ego's entitled. And that's why you can't get anything done, because people are too busy defending what they think they know. And they don't even know, because they don't even have the brain power to vet what they think they know. They can't master their own mind. And so they just have to accept what someone else says about it. What do you think that's like for people that are creative? Well, it's kind of lonely, because people don't know whether what you're saying is right or what someone else said is right. And so with fear, their eyes cross. They don't want the responsibility of thinking because they're trained to sit down and shut up. They didn't want to be wrong. You don't want to be wrong. So how would you be right? Well, you need a certification. You need some government agency to tell you who to trust. That's such an interesting way of dealing with knowledge, isn't it? Literally teaching people that knowledge is power, when it's really just creativity is power, thinking is power. And that's why we're disabled. People don't want the responsibility of being the author of their own perspective of reality.